Good morning, good morning, good morning, gorgeous rock stars. How the devil are you? What's coming up for you today? Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name's Emma Holmes. I'm coming in live from Rockstar HQ. I hope that you are fine and dandy, and I hope that the day is treating you well thus far. If it isn't, then let's decide that from here on in, it's going to be a Bobby Dazzler of a day, because that's what we do, and we get what we expect. Today, I'm coming in to talk about boundaries. It is a recurring theme that I have seen with lots of gorgeous rock stars this week, has been the overwhelm of overwork. So this has been something that has been coming up for stacks and stacks of people. I've had loads of conversations about it this week. Is the title of this live inspired by my post? No, it's not, because it's convo. The decision was last night in a convo that I had with somebody else, in terms of, she was ridiculously overwhelmed. We needed to sort that out. And what we got to the bottom of was that actually she had created the situation herself, which we often do. So, do you have any boundaries? Are you boundaryless? Gemma says, morning, finally catching you live for the first time this week. Fantastic. Morning, Alana, lovely to see you. Morning, Charlie. Morning, Bex. So, it is a recurring theme this week, is the lack of boundaries, is the fact that people are coming to me overworked, overwhelmed, on their way to burnout. And I have probably had 7 conversations, and it's only Thursday morning, around this topic this week. So, what I want to talk to you about is the fact that when you are in business, particularly an online business, it is really easy to become completely fucking boundaryless in terms of your work time, in terms of how you service and serve your clients, in terms of friends, family and relatives, in terms of saying yes all of the time, when actually your body and your mind and your soul is screaming for you to say no. Now, how can you expect anybody to respect your boundaries if you have none? Number one. Number two, how can you expect anyone to have any regard for contacting you, getting information from you, getting in touch with you, if you've got boundaries that you don't enforce? And number three, yes and no are both just words. They are both just words that you can use, neither of which need a detailed explanation. Now, if I said yes to you to do something, you wouldn't expect me to go, yes, because this. So if I say no to something, I don't also have to justify that no. I don't have to go, no, because I've got this on and that on and the other on and yada, 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 yada. I don't have to justify either answer in any way, shape or form. So first of all, looking at boundaries, and in terms of your working time and your working hours, a really good way of starting to do this is to write yourself a little bit of a job spec in terms of what you expect of yourself from a working perspective. Now, once the kids go back to school, I don't do client work on a Wednesday. Certainly during the morning, I do some online bits on a Wednesday afternoon, but I don't put any client appointments in on a Wednesday during the day, because that is the time that I have for me. And I also only work one evening per week, and that is on my terms. That is when hubby's out and it's time for me to, sometimes to do lives when my crowd might be around at a different time. It's sometimes to do its and shits of admin work. It's sometimes to have concentrated time. But I have, this is when I work, and these are my working expectations. Now, if you put a message onto the Facebook page and the autoresponder came back to you on an evening saying, not around right now, I'll come back to you as soon as I can, you wouldn't be pissed off and annoyed, would you? You wouldn't be. You wouldn't be annoyed. You'd go, right, okay, that's dandy. I'll wait to hear back. That's absolutely fine. If you put a comment into a group and I didn't jump on it straight away, you wouldn't be annoyed and pissed off with me. Or, it's about the management of expectations for yourself, number one, and for your clients, number two. So the lady that I was speaking to yesterday, I said, if you actually say to your clients, this is how we work, this is the expectation that I have of you, that you can have of me, then we can all work together to make things happen optimally for you and for your business. So for example, you could go into your group and say, I'm in here between 9 and 9:30 every single morning. I'll go through all of the questions that you've put in the last 24 hours and make sure that you get your answers to them. Nobody then has to wait any decent period of time. Or you could put in a weekly thread and say, put in all of your questions onto this weekly thread, and on a Thursday between 9 and 11 I come in and I answer all of your questions. Some of them I'll just pop text with the answer, some of them I might do little videos on, and it makes you ring fence the time to do that work. It means that it doesn't bleed into every single second of every single day. It means that you don't have to be then, losing your concentration of the project work that you might want to be doing, or lose your path on the blog that you were writing, or the social media posts that you do, because you're just pinging backwards and forwards, ping, 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 ping. And then what happens is you end up bloody resenting the situation that you've created. I currently do all of my lives on my programs in an evening, and then if lots of people need additional help in a particular area, I throw in an extra live. So I'm doing 2 a week, some weekends. Then if I'm launching, that's 3. So that's about you managing that expectation. So in my group, I've gone through and I've scheduled all the lives in for the Sell Well program. I have got times where they're going to be putting in different stuff that I want to then look at. There'll be times where I go back and I look at those things and I go through those things. And at the points where they're doing those Rockstar days, I'll be, spending the time going through those. But you've got to create the boundary, Rebecca. If you're then going, right, you get 1 live call a week and actually you're doing 2 live calls a week, then that's a little bit much in terms of, 1, it overwhelms you. 2, it can end up overwhelming them. 3, they end up feeling like they're behind because they can't keep up with all of the things. And what you've got to do is look at how you're working that group and have a Q&A thread each week. Have it that you pick that up on the live call perhaps, or that you pick that up at a time that suits you and you answer all of those questions collectively. It's all right to do additional calls, but it's got to be on your terms rather than diving in on a weekend. You are not there to save people. That is not your role within a group program. It isn't to dive in immediately and to save those people. What you'll find is that you'll often have somebody that comes in with a question, you go in and ask them something else, and then they disappear for hours, and then they come back and answer that question. That's because they're doing other things, and it's all right for you to be doing other things. If I came in and said to you, if you sent me a message and I went, actually, I'm really busy right now, I'll come back to you later, you wouldn't be annoyed with me. You wouldn't be pissed. You'd be like, okay, that's fine. I'll crack on with this other stuff and that's absolutely dandy. I'll go through my Miller note boards once a day. I'm not going to react to every single notification because I'll get fuck all else done. So it's really important that you look at that self-boundary and how that works best for you so that you can make sure that you're running your program effectively, so that you're not running around as a slave to them. You're their teacher, you're their leader, you're not their skiffy. And the lady that I was talking to last night, we looked at, right, the management of expectations. Number 1, how do you want people to get in touch with you and contact you? And what makes it the easiest and most effective for both you and for them? So we looked at that system. We looked at the working days. We looked at the management of expectations. So this week I will be working on this. This week you have got until this time to answer to pop in your questions or to tell me what you want me to be looking at, yada 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 yada. And then at this time I'll be working on your stuff. And that management of expectation allows the clients to know where they stand and allows people to go, okay, that's brilliant, I'll work towards that date, and we've got that date in and I know that that's what I'm working towards. And any additionals can be picked up within a structure. And I think not only does that allow you to plan your time effectively, but it also makes people feel quite safe in terms of they know when it's going to happen, they know when that feedback's going to be, and it's not that you are jumping on instantaneously. If you become a slave to Messenger, then you get nothing else done. So in terms of how you look at boundaries, what are your work times? What does that look like for you? What can clients expect of you, and what do you expect of them in terms of being able to help and support them at the biggest, brightest, most beautiful way? Because this helps me to help you, is, you know, the kind of response that you give to people, because that does help you to be more effective. And if you're more effective, then they get a better service. If you're rushing about like an absolute lunatic and trying to do all of the things for all of the people all of the time, they don't get the most effective service from you, because you're so fragmented, you know, and making sure that you're the priority in this. Because if you burn out and, you know, working in a reactionary manner all of the time will result in you feeling burnt out and resentful of the work that you're doing, because suddenly you'll be like, whoa, well, everybody asks me everything all of the time, and they expect me to come in at this time, and they expect this, and they expect that, and they expect the other. And actually what you've done is you've created that environment for them to expect that. So the quicker you can implement those boundaries, then the better that is for you and for them, because the last thing that you want is for them to think that that's what's expected and normal, and if anything other than that happens, that is wrong, and that you are neglecting them, and that things are, you know, not as they should be. You know, you'll go into lots and lots of online courses, and you'll find that you don't see the host at all of those courses, and that, you know, that the guidance is literally, this is what happens, these are the times, this is what's going on. Other than that, you crack on and you do your work. You do not want to train your audience to take the piss out of you because you have got no boundary. So that is super important. Now, there'll be times where I'm on Facebook and, you know, I'm just doing its and shit, and I'll respond to something immediately because, you know, I'm in a its and shits time of working. And people will go, oh my God, I can't believe that you responded that quickly to a message on the Facebook page or to an email or whatever it might be. Thank you so much. But I go, I'm actually around at the moment. Sometimes I'm not. And, you know, it isn't necessarily the norm that you get that. But this is what, you know, is the situation. You know, you can have different rules as well in terms of your boundaries for different client types. So you can say, right, this is what my one-to-one clients can expect of me. This is what group clients expect of me. And, you know, then you've got that differential in support, so that there is a differential in how they work with you and the amount of time, effort, energy and attention that they get from you. And remember what people have paid for, and do not be training them to take the piss out of you because you're taking the piss out of yourself. I would always, always, always say that your diary is your friend. All right. I'm not the most super structured person in the world, and I'm not anal in terms of my diary management. But I know, right, okay, 2 days a week, I'm going to have lots and lots and lots of client calls, because I like to do a back-to-back, full of energy, serving other people. That's what I'm going to do. Those days, you know, you'll only get me when I'm going to make my brew, because I'm busy serving other people and my time, effort, energy and attention is on them. So I'll do a few answers to some questions while the kettle boils. That's totally fine. In those days, I still have time for my steps and movement and my exercise, because that keeps me able to deliver at that level. Without me doing that, I can't deliver at that level. My cup ends up empty. So I do make sure that I've got time for lunch. So there's always a gap in appointments, either 11 till 12, 12 till 1 or 1 till 2. So within that 3-hour time span, there is always, always, always a lunchtime gap that I make sure is in my diary. And I also make sure that there's time either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day where I can look after me. Like I say, once the kids go back to school, there won't be any client appointments that go in on a Wednesday. And I also work my diary alongside my husband's diary, so that sometime throughout the month we get a day where the kids are at school, where we can go off and do something together, so that we get different sort of times throughout the month to do that. So when I look at my diary, you know, I look at each week, I look at where I'm putting things, I look at where I'm working on things. You know, I can look then at when is my times to go in and answer questions and to do different bits to make sure that I can best help and support the people that are around me. I can look at the different tiers and levels of the programs that I have and that I create in the online communities that I have. How can I best serve and support those clients based on where they are in terms of their investment in the work that I'm doing? Because, you know, with the best will in the world, you don't get the same response from me in a 15 quid a month program as you do working with me one-to-one. That just wouldn't be fair. You know, the point is that there are different levels of investment, and the different levels of investment actually relate to how much of my time, effort, energy and attention you get directed to you. And that's what actually is that differential in terms of value and in terms of input. Now, if you're inputting into your groups at say 15 quid or at say 97 quid on a huge level, then you're not valuing your time, and potentially you get into a position where there's no point in working with you one-to-one, because all of the time, effort, energy and attention that they could possibly get from you is already available to them in a group setting, because you're on Messenger to them, because you're answering every single email that they send through, because you're answering absolutely everything in a reactive fashion. And not only are you letting yourself down and ending up burnt out and resentful, but you're training them to take the mick out of you, but also you're training them that that's what it'll be expected of them. Because, well, Emma answers all of the time, so therefore in order to create that business, I have to do that. I have to take those steps. I have to be hugely, massively reactive. You've got to have boundaries for your sanity, but also to be able to teach your crowd that business doesn't have to consume them, that business doesn't have to be this really burdensome, hard, difficult slog. If they see that and they see that this is how you work, they think, well, I can't have boundaries. Now, we don't have to be like massive, that is it. You know, there might be times where you do want to, you know, help and support somebody that has a crisis point or whatever it might be. But I worked with a virtual assistant who wouldn't answer me after 5 o'clock, who didn't answer emails, messages, etc. outside of work time. So she didn't answer me after 5 o'clock. She didn't answer on a weekend. And you know what? That was fine. I didn't think any less of her. She was much more able to do my work, and I expected that. It was okay for me to wing things through if I was thinking about them, or if something came up, and it would be dealt with the next day, or she would tell me when it would be dealt with, and she would manage my expectation on that. And then she wasn't training me to be in that position of. And when I came to her and went, look, this is really desperate and urgent, she would look at how she could accommodate that. But she also allowed me to learn that I didn't have to go, right, I need this and I need this right now. And she allowed me to learn planning and prep and timescales. And, it was a really good lesson for me to work with somebody who had boundaries, like really tight boundaries, to be able to self-manage me as well. Because, I have massive expectations of me, and I expect me to go, boo, 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 boo. Things are done, things are done, things are done. Get shit done, get shit done, get shit done. So actually having that is a really useful lesson to give your audience too. And what we don't want is to be in a situation where we have given people a sort of a bar that they find really difficult as well. We have to be a good role model for our crowd and allow them to do that. And we also have to be in fair exchange, and we also have to have times to work on our business, and we also have to have times where we prioritise us. And we also have to have times where we eat our fucking lunch and not just continue to plough through and plough through and plough through. And do you remember in the corporate world where there'd be somebody working at the desk at lunchtime and you'd go, you'll be no better thought of for that. It's the same. It's the same. And, you know, you will not be letting people down by saying, this is the time that I answer questions. This is the time that I come in and do brainstorming. This is the time where this happens. Because what people are then able to do is work to those timescales. And it really helps them to actually focus their mind too. So don't train people to take the piss out of you, because you'll end up burnt out and resentful. You'll also be training them that that is how they need to work in their business, which isn't good. And you need to be making sure that your energy is tip top. Boundaries do not cause barriers. Know that. And, you know, when I spoke to the lady yesterday and I said, do you know what, if I said to you, look, I'm a bit busy right now, do you mind if I work on that on this date? You'd go, yeah, that's cool. So I've had a conversation with the gorgeous Vicky Nicholson about some graphic design, about something that I was working on. And I said to her, do you know what, Vic, I'm not going to even look at that till the kids have gone back to school. So I expect something from me between, you know, the week commencing the 7th. So I'll look at that project week commencing the 7th and give you what you need for it at that time. She goes, yeah, cool. Because we're working on managing expectations. We're working on actually when will be the right time to work on that thing. What is it that I need to be thinking about to work on that thing? Where's the boundary line on that particular thing? And the boundary line can be across your business in terms of, you know, when you are working. And chances are, right, the hours that you work, you get more shit done anyway, because you don't piss about on Facebook, you don't piss about on Instagram, you don't end up going down a rabbit hole of all sorts of different weird and wonderful things, like gifs of corgis jumping into dinghies, completely by the by. But you end up working in a more focused manner. You know, I have got a list of my focused activities that I want to be working on, the things that I need to be doing. You know, I've got time today where I'm going to go and do the back to school shop. I've got time today where I'm going to run. I've got time today with a client appointment. I've got time today with other appointments that are for the kids, etc. And I know what needs to happen and I know what needs to be done. And it gives me that element of, right, okay, it's okay for me now to go and do that thing, because that thing has got its place in my diary, rather than just winging it through the day going, ah! You know, what is it that you're going to be working on? Where is it that you're going to be putting your time, effort, energy and attention? You don't want to dilute it. You know, you'll end up doing half a job for everything if you're jumping backwards and forwards and, you know, picking up all sorts of different things. So I'm going to stop this call. I'm going to do some round robin answers to messages and to group posts. And then I'm buggering off for a couple of hours to sort out the kids with all of the shit that they need for going back to school. And I won't be answering and I won't be responding. And then I'll do a bit of responding while I'm cooking their lunch. And then I'll be going out and doing this, that, and the other. You know, and it's very much in terms of those times that I'm going to do that and the times where I'm focusing on other things. Because, you know, when we try and put our attention into everything, nothing gets our proper attention. So look at your overall arching boundary of when you work. Yes, there can be some flexibility in that. Yes, I can say I work one evening a week and, you know, sometimes it might be, you know, it's generally a Wednesday, but it isn't always. Sometimes it's another evening because there's other things that I want to do. But if I work on another evening, then I have the Wednesday off. And I look at the days that I'm going to do more appointments. I look at the days where I'm going to do more its and shits. I look at how I'm going to respond to messages within those days, etc., etc. And I look at the different points in my business and, you know, where the expectation of my time, effort, energy and attention should be placed on the basis of what it is that they are actually paying for. Because, you know, my time is really precious and it's the one thing I can't get back. All right, I can make more money, I can, you know, do all the other things, but I can't replace time. And the investment of my time directly into things is the most valuable asset in my business, because it is the thing that makes the biggest difference to people. And therefore, I need to make sure that I'm respecting that for my benefit, but also for my clients' benefits, and making sure that it's fair and equitable for them. So go and get some boundaries in place. Make sure start small. Start with some working hours. Start by creating some working hours for yourself. Then start by looking at, right, okay, so how can I make this more streamlined and successful? And, you know, even in retrospect, you can go into a group and go, this is how we're going to work, because this means that I don't miss anything. This means that you all get my time, effort and energy directly into your stuff. And, you know, these are the times where I'll be coming in and answering questions, or this is the one thread for you to put your questions on, or whatever that might look like for you. So, you know, just think about how you can create it. And it's not a negative for your crowd. You can always say, you know, this enhances the way that I can help and support you, because it does. You know, if you say to me, and this is the example from the lady that I was talking to yesterday, if you say to me that I've got until this time to provide you with what you need because you're working on my stuff at this time, I'll make sure that that happens. I'll put that in my diary to make sure that I am getting the stuff to her by that time. I know then also that if I don't get it by that time, it has to wait till the next time slot, and that's okay. You know, I can't run around like a brat expecting everybody else to bend over backwards for my business. And, you know, that's because I have boundaries and that I respect others' boundaries. So go get yourself some boundaries. If you've got any questions, let me know. Pop it into Messenger, shout up. And like I say, I'm doing round robin question answering now. So if there's anything that you want to ask, you can get into my inbox, or you can pop a comment in and I will make sure that I am coming in and responding to that. But boundaries are important for you and for your audience. That's all I'm going to say. And they're not mean on anyone. And if I say to you that I will come back to you at a certain time, that doesn't annoy you. That doesn't piss you off. If you get a responder from my business page that is on from 7 till 7 saying, I can't answer you right now, I'll come back to you as soon as I'm able, you don't get annoyed. You don't get pissed off. It's okay. And nobody has ever been, you know, kind of, if I've gone, I'll get back to you at this time, or I've just got this going on and I'll get back to you at this time, or this is the time where I'm going to be answering questions, or this is the time that I'm doing this, and this. And sometimes, yeah, it's overt, and sometimes it's just for me. It's just my own boundary where I go, right, I'm going to go and answer some questions on this day at this time. So think about how it might work for you, and know that you're stealing from yourself and your audience by just being reactive and having no boundaries whatsoever. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.